limited for certain.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so but you mean limited for certain countries, region, but the challenge is that to get updated data, whether through quantitative or qualitative analysis. Thank you, Malak.
Thank you, Malak. Is your mic not working, Malak? Because it'd be nice for you to expand on this, or if someone wants to jump in, comment on Malak's point.
I can put, this is the old experience, but so when I lived in Syria and I worked on water there, that's before 2011, 12, 11. So it's exactly that. So there was data, but you never knew A, whether it was real data, and B, it was really outdated usually. So you're writing about, you know, water in Syria in 2010 after a really heavy drought, and then the ministry gives you figures from 2004. And it's like useless because it doesn't reflect that there's been this massive drought, that there've been, you know, massive impact on agriculture. And so then how do you incorporate that into a story? And it's like irrelevant, like the data is, is there, but then that's irrelevant to the story you're writing because it doesn't reflect what's recently happened. So that was something that occurred really often in Syria. And then there was also conflicting data. So let's say you ask the Ministry of Agriculture, and then you would ask the Ministry of Water, and it would just contradict each other. And then in the end, I would often end up using FAO, like UN FAO data, because I just didn't know which of the Syrian government, you know, or what I would do is I would actually indicate that in the story. If there was space in the text to do that, I would say, you know, the data are confusing, and that makes it even more challenging to address whatever the challenge was. That, you know, how if I as an outside journalist can't figure it out, then who, you know, it's also challenging for policymakers. And you know, how do you make a policy based on lots of conflicting data? And then that becomes part of the story almost, the fact that this data is not clear.
Mm-hmm. Is this something that resonates, that you've also experienced, well, the rest of you have also experienced, where you've had conflicting data, and how do you go about overcoming that conflict in data? Do you end up making assumptions, but that's not very professional? How do you work through it?
We have Hannah raised her hand.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to continue what Malak wrote in the chat. She said, for instance, in interviews, they can be helpful, but to get good number of interviewees can remain challenging. And she said that she cannot talk because she's in a crowded place. Leave it to Hannah now.
Okay. For me, I think it's a twofold challenge. The first one is that the data is usually very old, and using it in the article becomes irrelevant when you're writing about, when you need statistics and fresh information that can support your story or what you're writing about. The second one that I don't know the reason for it actually is the fact that many officials, they get concerned when you're asking about data. When you start asking about percentage and numbers, they start pulling back and having fear. There is this fear that's connected to data and information, numbers, when you're talking to officials. And I find this really very unhelpful when writing about water stories, because especially to water, you really need information regarding population, regarding shortage of water, all kinds of information that support your article and can actually show the magnitude of the problem you're writing about. So basically, the 2 points is the data is not updated. It can be 3 or 4 years old, and that's very unhelpful. And the second one is the fear of the officials whenever you start talking about numbers.
So when you say, because Malak is agreeing with this lack of confidence from official parties, and is that, would you say that's specific to some of the countries or to the region in general?
No, because I write about Jordan and the water problems in Jordan, so I would only be talking about Jordan, but I assume that it's something that might be experienced by my fellow journalists in other countries, and we are very open to hearing their opinions about this and knowing how to approach the officials. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe it's a trust issue or not, I'm not sure, but I see this a lot. They would be willing to talk, and the minute you start talking about numbers, they would just start pulling back.
Mm-hmm. Farah, you have your hand raised. Thanks, Hannah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I just want to agree with what Hannah said about the trust issue, because maybe I used to work with a journalist when I used to work in international NGOs, so I can talk about on behalf of the journalists in the Arab region. Most of them, they face the same issue actually. Some of them, they said that yes, the ministries, for example, because I'm covering mainly the climate change and the environment, they said that the ministries, they don't actually give any information easily. Maybe it's a lack of trust, because sometimes they said that they have some experience with other journalists who are not expertise in the field, and they wrote some information, it's wrong actually, and they didn't understand the numbers. So sometimes most of the headlines, it's not it's giving something opposite the truth actually. And sometimes, yeah, this is right, because when I used to train some journalists on climate change, they don't know actually how to use this kind of data, because they are not actually expertise in the field. And as well, there's the ministries actually, they don't provide you that easily with the information, because they don't only fear from the media, but also because they don't have it in the beginning. Like Hannah said, most of the data, it's very old, and unfortunately in the Arab region, there's no specific studies and research. It's very specific on the impact of climate change on all sectors. There's no numbers actually, and this was actually one of the challenging. It's been highlighted in most of the conferences that I attend.
Seems like she dropped off. Oh yeah, she's back.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, you're back. Farah?
I don't know. Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Hello.
Farah, we can hear you. I'm going to send her a message.
Hello. So you hear me. Thank you. Sorry. And one last thing I need to highlight about it, that unfortunately as well, most of the data, it's in English, and there's like a language issue, because most of the journalists who work in the environment field, they don't speak English, and maybe Hannah know that even in Jordan as well. So sometimes when the ministries provide the data that we need, it's in English, and no one can actually can translate it, because it's a technical. And when they try to translate it, this is why they put themselves in a situation that there is a lot of mistakes. It's coming out when they wrote their articles, because they don't understand what is happening on the ground. But the main good thing that is now Jordan working on, because this is what I heard yesterday officially, they are trying now to establish a new center for climate change data in Jordan, and they are trying to collect everything related to this topic and the work. It's going to actually, it's happened and it's going to happen from different sectors. So I don't know if it's going to be successful. So yeah, this is my thought about it.
What's the name of the center, Farah? Do you know?
Actually, not yet, because like I said, it was like a suggestion. It's coming from the officials in some of the ministries yesterday during one of the workshops. It's talked about the climate change. So they said that because of lack of data, because also they are facing a lot of challenging when they are working together on the ground on implementing programs that it's related to climate change and the adaptation and mitigation. They said the Ministry of Environment, they said that even though the other ministries such as Water Ministry, Agriculture Ministry, they don't provide them with the update, what they are doing on the ground. Like I said, when it's coming to the adaptation and mitigation, also they have a lack of information. So they said that this is the good way if we need actually to collect these data from all the resources that it's working on environment and climate change in Jordan. So yeah.
Great, thank you, Farah. Rim.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I think being a reporter or a journalist in our days, it's more harder than in the past because many reasons. First, I remembered in the past we can get information from the website, from the website for the Water and Irrigation Ministry, for the dams, for the contracts, anything for the projects like the Red and Dead Sea. Now you can't get any information except that the officials, they want to publish. You don't know what is the reason for that. You don't know why. For a journalist, for me, I am not already be happy for publish what they want. I want the information. I want the data. When you ask them about that, they will tell you, we don't have it, or they will give you the wrong numbers. Sometimes I ask them, why you give us the wrong numbers? They told me, because we have the donors, we don't want them to know the right number for that. And this is one of the problems that we have here in Jordan, especially after the corona pandemic. They choose just one person to get the information, which is he the spokesman for the Water and Irrigation Ministry. He is the only one can give you the information. If you publish any information by officials, they will start to say that it's a false news. That's not correct. And for that, I think it's the harder time for the journalists. It's now. Thank you.
Thanks, Rim. So they're using, in a way, this data is being used for power, in a way, you know. It's not open for everyone. It's used as a,
They want you to publish what they want, just. They don't want you to think about anything. Just the officials in news, just. That's it. You can't write about the dams and how 14 dams, they get dry. What's that? I don't know. It's the worst time for the journalists, the worst time.
Yes, and if you ask for more information, they are offended.
Yes.
I have a press release. What's wrong with you?
So instead of respecting the journalist, I mean, we're not just talking, we're talking scientific journalists, environmental journalists, where you need that info. It's important that you have that information to do a good job. There doesn't seem to be enough respect towards the journalists. Maybe there is this kind of negative narrative that still exists about the journalist just wanting to distort data to serve a specific purpose, or to just appease, to make the readers happy. Yeah,
but can I add something here as well?
Yeah.
Because this is one thing. It's almost a common thing that I face when I publish any article to talk about the climate change and the policies here. Most of the people or the officials in the government, they said when we publish something, for example, saying that the government, they didn't do their job when it's coming to adaptation programs and mitigation. They said you are trying to make our reputation in front of the international countries in a bad way, So they said that maybe this kind of news and articles, it will actually limited our opportunity to get a fund, because most of now the funded actually organization or institutes, international one, they now connecting any fund with the climate policies that it's being adopting by the government. So they said most of them they trying to tell Jordan, no, you are not following what it's actually mentioned in Paris Agreement, and because these kind of articles, they are saying that Jordan failed on the climate change actually policies, they cannot actually do their job, so etc. So they think that it's this kind of news making their reputation outside bad actually.
So Marwa, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Better, yes.
Okay. I just have one small thing to add concerning the Lebanese case, because hello everyone, it's been a while and you've been missed. Concerning Lebanon, obviously we keep saying this, that we don't have the same problem that the rest of the Arab world has, which is no water or scarce water resources. We actually have a lot of water resources, but we mismanage them. We don't know how to manage it. We do, but again, this is Lebanon. But anyways, it's mismanagement and it's pollution that affects the Lebanese water system, if you would. We don't have an issue with data because each one of our rivers have its own directorate that you can call. It's easy to get there. It's easy to get to their offices. They're usually nice people that you can get numbers from. And we also have universities involved. You have the Lebanese University, AUB, USG, they all have centers, either monitoring or programs that watch how the water is coming in, the level of pollution, the number of cases that are being reported that are being affected by this pollution. Isam Ferris Institute is a big example. We've done a lot of work with it, with Dr. If I'm not mistaken, Dr. Najm. I might be mistaken with the family name, but basically he's one of the head of the departments at the AUB, where they usually monitor and measure and publish these numbers, and they're usually very accurate, and they work hand in hand with international community institutions like the UN and whatnot. So the problem is not with numbers. The problem is with everyday cases in Lebanon concerning water outages and concerning sometimes concerning electricity as well, because now we're in a very dire situation in Lebanon where we do not have electricity because we do not have fuel for it. And you obviously know the economic situation, economic disaster in Lebanon. So for example, if you want to report about why a certain area is not receiving the much needed amount of water that that people are paying for, you try to find out and you get to a dead end, because you get to a point where there is some sort of a corruption at the level of the lower level of the institutions, where the people responsible for a certain area would work hand in hand with what we call the water cartels in Lebanon, who sell water for the people. They literally go to the source of water, get the water in big containers and sell you. At the same time, you're paying your taxes for the government that would get you from that same source of water to get you to your house. So it's basically water cartels and also corruption at the level of the lower level of institutions, government institutions in Lebanon. So if you want to get there, ask questions. One of these times I was doing a report about it, and I got a knife thrown up on my face. I was like, dude, I have kids, I don't care, I'm not gonna write about this, I didn't see you, bye-bye. So it's not worth getting knifed just to get information as to why are you doing this, or who is responsible for this. And so it's basically dangerous to talk about such issues, but numbers, data, I think Lebanon might be one of the easiest countries in West Asia where you can get measurements and data done good, with a lot of NGOs working, getting a lot of money in with great technology to do that. So it's not about data, it's about actually talking about the main problems that affect everyday life, everyday life citizens, people not having clean water in their houses because they have to pay double taps to get the water to their houses. And sometimes the water is getting from sources that are not filtrated, they are not, it doesn't pass through filters, because the one that comes from the government is filtrated, but the one that comes from big trucks of water, sometimes it's coming from polluted water. So that's also another big problem. So basically, it's dangerous at the level of reporters talking to these people, corrupted people of the low level of government. That's an example in Lebanon. Thank you.
Thanks, Manawat. So in a way, you're saying that being an investigative environmental journalist has a lot of risks. Okay. That's not really, I mean, the safety of the environmental journalist, or the lack of safety, that's another really important topic that we could dedicate another session to. But it's interesting how each country has its own issues with data. Did anyone else have their hand risen? No. I suggest, so I mean, you've shared with us a lot of challenges, and specifically, I think there are the main ones, as you've mentioned, are the accessing up-to-date data. So there's a lot of outdated data. Then there's this lack of trust, kind of not really respecting the role of the journalist, of the environmental journalist. I know Malak said that interviews is a good way of kind of circumventing this challenge of not having up-to-date data, because you're not going to start to collect all the data yourself because you're the journalist. You can do it through interviews, but does that, to what extent does that work? You've also mentioned, Malak, that there's a challenge of actually getting people that you can interview. So when you have to gather quantitative data, what other things do you do as journalists when you struggle, when you're faced with these obstacles? Do you rely on international NGOs who might have more access to data? Or do you just end up not writing about it because there's not enough data to support it? And that's the other thing. Maybe, like you say, Marwa, topics that should be written about, important topics that affect people on a day-to-day basis, might not be written about enough because there isn't enough data to support it.
If I will talk about my experience with this regard, I would say that when asking for information, data that support the article I'm writing about, most of the times when writing about water, It's a spot story sometimes. You don't have time. They say that maybe I will get it for you in 3 or 4 days. The information, the kind of information you're asking needs 2 or 3 days to get that, if it existed aslan. So they would say that we have to wait for 2 or 3 days. But I would be writing a story that needs to be published at the same day, because sometimes it's a spot story. So what I do is I refer to older stories, giving just at least Googling or finding the most relevant kind of information that can support or can help with the story, and also turning to NGOs' websites where you can find more information, but they are also not also updated. They also rely on government information too. So if the government is not providing journalists or the NGOs, you wouldn't also find it on the website too. So unless the NGOs are doing their own studies, then that's a different thing. But there are kind of information that can only be provided by the government, by the ministries. So yeah, I would turn to the NGOs' websites and use whatever kind of information that can be relevant to my story. And when the information I already asked from the ministry is available, I would do something else. I would do another story that about it. That's about it.
Does it take time when you request information?
You need to manage.
Yeah. You use what you have, I guess. But does it when trying to access official information, the government information, does it take time? Is it bureaucratic? Is there like a bureaucratic process?
It's a matter of searching for the information you ask for, because talking to the spokesperson, you can only get the information from the spokesperson, and this is recent that you only can get information from the spokesperson. If I the department that handles the dam storage, of course they have up-to-date information, but as a journalist you're not allowed to talk directly to them unless it's off the record or without mentioning, just saying that a source from the ministry said or indicated that the number is so and so. If you want to get information that is from the spokesperson, he would have to wait, because he would do the connections 2 or 3 days to get you the information you asked for, and most of the times it's not the kind of information you wanted. It's just too shallow.
Okay. Thanks, Hannah. Maysam.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think I like all the points, but what crosses my mind, which I think something that I observe a lot. Again, I'm not a journalist, I'm not a media person, but I observe what's happening out there, especially with the water sector, because it's our own technical field. What I see is that Omar Salam, who's the spokesperson for the Jordanian Ministry of Water and Irrigation, he is on morning radio shows. He is on the news. He's on like the 8 p.m. News. He's speaking to journalists. He's attending many events. And again, that's one example for one person. So I see it sometimes overwhelming to government officials. I'm basing this on the case of Jordan, that they have to respond to so many people. And again, these examples that I mentioned are official TV stations, official radios, official not in terms of government, but I mean legit TV and radio stations, but also journalists like Hannah, Reem, Farah, and Iman, who they know already. My concern is the second tier of, maybe they call themselves journalists, but they might not be journalists. Those people who report to electronic news agencies and so on. With all respect, I mean, I'm not saying they're not journalists, but sometimes there are those amateurs who would show up in events, who would show up at the ministry door asking for data as well and asking for information, which if I were in the position of that spokesperson, I would question that twice, like, who's this person? Are they, credible enough for me to provide information? So, and again, you can also add to that researchers, students who also visit the ministry to get more information. So my question is maybe to the group here, how does your newspaper credibility, how does your reputation help you access data more than others? I think this is, I'm just curious about this. I'm sure if Hannah goes to the ministry and asks for information, she will be welcomed because everybody knows Hannah. Same thing for Reem, Iman, and Farah in the Jordanian context. But does that really help? Is it maybe personal connection that I can get to that person, get the information faster than all the others? Just curious to see how does that go?
Well, that depends on the kind of information you're after. If it's sensitive information that can cause trouble to them, no, you wouldn't get it, even if you've been in this sector for many, many years. But information about the levels of underground aquifers or whatever, yeah, maybe you would get it, yes, but not much more important things, data.
But do you think, Hannah, and maybe the others, maybe Farah wants to add to this, do you think the name of the Jordan Times or Al-Ghad newspaper or Rai newspaper help to get faster information, more credible information?
I think it would help since you've been in the picture for a long time and you've built some kind of connection. Yes, especially if you've been for a long time and they know that you're from this official newspaper or from a known newspaper, yes, it would help. But as I said, if you're after something that's sensitive or that might cause some troubles, you wouldn't get it even from whatever newspaper you're representing.
Mm-hmm. Farah, your hand is raised.
Yeah, actually, regarding to your question, Maysam, yes, the reputation of the media outlets, it will help sometimes to get the information. Because actually, this is the discussion also we had yesterday during the workshop, that because we have, like you said, some journalists who they are not expertise, and sometimes they have their own agenda, like some of the news websites and even the media outlets. Yeah, they're afraid from this kind of media outlet, and they don't like actually to publish their even official news in this kind of media outlet, because sometimes they said that they do kind of I don't know how can I actually say it, but sometimes some of the media outlet they published something wrong, or they
manipulate maybe,
because exactly, because they need something from the ministry, or they need money, or they need some commercial, and sometimes they actually affected all the journalists in Jordan, because I heard a lot of official saying to me that all the journalists are same, you only looking for money for some commercials, and this is not right in the end, but like Hannah said, and I agree on that, it's the matter of a trust that the journalists can build with the governments and even the NGOs or the other private resources. And by the way, when you have this kind of experience and you are covering the same issues for many, many years, you can get a hidden resource inside of these, ministries, so they can give you all the information they want. And this is what happens with me always, So I don't go usually to official. I can actually get my, information in that way, and then I ask about it more if I need to confirm that what it's written in these documents that right from the official people or the spokesperson. But yes, sometimes, yeah, the repetition, it's a play a part of the role if you need to get this kind of information. But as you said, the expertise and the trust that the journalist can build. So yeah.
Thanks, Farah. Rim.
Okay. I want to say that Hannah and Iman and me, I think we had a wonderful work in the water sector, and for that we have a respect between the officials and the people. When I have an information, maybe sometimes I ask them to confirm it. They refuse. They ask to publish by officials, not without name. In this case, almost I ask the other people, the people in the street and the locations, for confirm this information, and from there I start working. But for the respect, I think we did a good work in the water sector. For that, we have some respect between the officials and the people.
Great. Thanks, Rim. So, like Francesca earlier also put in the chat, you know, if you do cultivate these relationships of trust, that can be a way to overcome that challenge of lack of trust. And then I guess also changing this negative narrative about the journalist only, you know, asking for this data for their own purpose. So in terms of practical steps, what's your idea? What would be an ideal situation in your respective countries for accessing better and more reliable data, apart from obviously asking officials and getting the data that you ask for? Or do you expect it to change? What do you expect it to look like in the future? Or what needs to be done in a way? Farah, your hand is up, but I'm not sure.
Very hard question.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you can rephrase the question. I'm just trying to think of, you know, in a way, if a lot of you, it sounds like you're very stuck, or you get stuck, whereas maybe in other countries where there isn't this challenge, journalists can enjoy their profession a lot more because they don't have that big obstacle of accessing data. I can imagine it's something that gets you down as a journalist when you're trying to do your job, and what you enjoy is writing the story. But if there's this huge obstacle in even getting the accessing the data in the first place, then it becomes, your job doesn't only become being a journalist, but also you know, being a researcher and everything at the same time.
Actually, and we are playing all
your heroes.
Yeah, actually we are playing, I think all of us here, we are professional journalists, and we are playing all these kind of roles because I don't think so that the situation is going to be changed. And if I need to wait actually for the officials to give me the information, so I'm not going actually to publish anything in my newspaper. So this is why we need to be to play as a researchers, or as a one who's maybe looking for actually doing his own studies and etc. This is the only way actually. Or I think it's need to be, yes, the situation, it's need to be proven. But like I said, when it's coming to my field that I'm specialized on the climate change and the environment, unfortunately, even between the ministries, there is no one actually data that they can actually use between all of them. Even they face the similar situation because no one report to them what is happening on the ground, and they are every ministry they working by itself. So it's similar actually. So this is why sometimes maybe there's the lack of information. I don't know if this kind of center that they're going to hold actually it's going to be such kind of solution. I don't know.
I mean, let's hope it's successful and it becomes also an example for other countries to follow suit, because especially for the next wave of journalists, it can be very discouraging for journalist students who are basically, you know, onto a bit of a hard task. Hannah or Rem, I'm not sure who got their hand up first, but
okay, I'll go.
And then we'll just take another few minutes, and then we'll have a very quick 2-minute break, and then Marwa will take over.
Yeah. For me, I dream of a center or a platform that gives and compiles reliable and updated information. And let's start with the water sector, because that's why what we're for. So a platform or a center that gives reliable information, updated information, with easy access to it. I don't know how can that be done, or would the government or the Ministry of Water and would be interested in that, maybe sponsored by some donor agencies to kickstart the thing. So I don't know, that would be very helpful.
I guess that needs to happen hand in hand with other institutional changes, and it can't obviously just come out of nowhere in isolation. But let's hope that that's something similar will come to fruition. And Rem.
Yeah, for me, I think we need a spokesman that he is believe in information and must be a journalist, or we need an officials. They are a journalist. They believe in the media, believe in the news, believe in the information and the good data. I think this will be more comfortable for us, for the journalists, because they are now, they don't know how to deal with media. Most of them, they are not a journalist. They don't know how to tell the people the truth in an easy way.
And other initiatives in your respective countries that are trying to change how media is perceived and how the journalist is perceived, because, like you say, if that doesn't change, then you're going to continue facing the same challenges over and over again. So maybe it would be better to start with that, changing how the media is perceived, or the journalist is seen. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you so much. We could go on for ages, but we have another topic to jump into. Are you okay to take literally 2 minutes, quick break, to grab some water, go to the toilet, whatever. And then Marwa will tell us about media formats, her experience. And yeah, does that sound good? Just 2 minutes. Have a
Sure.
break. Amazing. See you back here. Yeah, just a bit before 5 o'clock.
PowerPoint presentation about what might work for the Blue Peace Media Network in relevance to what kind of social media they are going to be using. And there's this old question that Cora once asked me as to why I hate TikTok and I'm never doing a TikTok, but that does not mean that groupies should not have a TikTok. I'll be talking about that briefly, and then enough of me talking, we will hear and see a couple of videos that are very nice, short ones, and I'll be happy to hear any suggestions, questions, or maybe remarks from my fellow colleagues on board today. Let me begin by sharing my screen.
Marwa, just to let you know that the sound of your mic, it's sometimes good, but maybe when you go back, it becomes a bit too quiet.
Is this better? Do you want me to raise my voice a bit? Is this good?
Yeah, that's good. If anyone, if you can't hear Marwa, just let us know.
Okay, let me start by so my PowerPoint is basically the correct or right social media platform for advocacy, because this is what Peace usually does. It advocates what is the best solutions for transboundary water management or internal problems within each country in West Asia concerning the problems that they have with water scarcity or pollution or whatnot. So I'm just going to give it the title of right social media platform for advocacy, because I think that it differs between different businesses or different NGOs, but basically how we use social media is very similar. So let us begin by why we actually would want to use social media. ليش؟ لما بدنا نجي نحكي قلنا عندك صفحة على social media, do you have a page on social media? What's the point? Let us start by a couple of numbers that are really, really interesting. About 4.5 billion people in this world today have at least one social media account. 4.5 مليار على القليلة واحد منهم موجود على واحدة من هدول platforms. TikTok, for example, is exploding in growth. It already exploded and it keeps exploding. It have reached 1 billion monthly users. That's at the beginning of 2021. I think this year it's going to be at least 500 million more. Instagram also boasted around 1 billion monthly users. And although Facebook is not trendy a lot with Generation Z, with iGeneration, the newest generation, as it is with millennials and boomers, but it still takes out the top spot with a whooping 2.9 billion global users of Facebook. Now, obviously, you need to be using social media in this day and age, or else you are not existing on this planet. And this, for me, that's a positive and a negative point. But concerning our work here, that's a very positive point, especially after the pandemic that we went through and if you will, digitalization of majorly all aspects of our lives. Even our kids were being homeschooled on the internet. So using social media was a big part of education, was a big part of health, was a big part of many sectors that were put on hold during the pandemic. So this also gave them a great push forward with a number of members on these social media. We will see a video in a minute concerning what the top social media sites are, the great go-to for most of the audience, especially the audience that we want to talk to in the Bluepeas. Okay. In order for me to be able to choose the right social media platform, for example, we're talking about Bluepeas here. So how would I choose the best social media platform or platforms for my advocacy? There are 5 simple steps that I can take, and these steps would allow me to, first of all, analyze what kind of resources I have and then choose the best one that would fit my objectives. First of all, I need to pick my target audience. We cannot just talk with everyone. It doesn't work that way. We have to pinpoint who are we talking to. For example, if I want to take the issue of scarcity of water with Jordan, as a journalist in Jordan, who would I want to talk to would be my target audience. And that would be my point of giving to the Bluepeas Media Network, of allowing them to know who my audience is, so they can take that and put it into content that they will be using or they will be disseminating across their social media platforms. The second step would be finding my competitors. And here, this is not a business. We are not a business. We are a non-governmental organization working with governments in the region to try and find a solution for the transboundary water management problem. So our competitors here are meant to be both NGOs that work in a similar field, not necessarily in the same field, because I don't think that there is another NGO working in the Middle East about transponder water management like Bluepeace, but at least there are other maybe climate change NGOs or maybe other organizations that work at the governmental level, at the policymaking level, that can be some sort of an inspiration for my network to look at, see what they're doing, and then not copy, but at least get inspired of how they are treating their own audience. Now, step 3 would be the goals. What are my goals? لأنه according to my goals, الهدف اللي أنا بدي شو الهدف بدي ورا البلوبيس. According to the goal that I have and that I set for myself, I go and choose the best social media platform for me. Because if I have a certain goal about talking to people about pollution, it's different. I might not be using Twitter, for example, but if I have events a month around, not year around, monthly events, maybe weekly events, then Twitter would be my go-to, because Twitter is about live reporting. So it differs according to what kind of an objective I have. And it doesn't mean that I am strictly abided by one point of the platforms, because I can do multiple events at the same time, which would require multiple social media platforms. Step 4 would be looking at my available resources. That's a very important point, and most important in my view, because that will allow you to know whether you have enough people for the content creating, and whether you have skilled people to utilize this content in a very effective way that would have great global outreach. And 5, it's experiment and measure. You see where you are doing best, you see your numbers, you see your outreach, and according to that experiment, you go and build your new strategy for the next period in the year or for the new year. So let's begin with step 1. Step 1 about who is your target audience. Let me just stop for a second and ask the prominent colleagues that are along with us here. برأيكم كرمال البلو بيس مين التارجت اودينس لما نحن بدنا نحكي عن البلو بيس؟ مش لما نحن بدنا نعمل reporting, not when we want to report the problems in our countries, but majorly when we want to tell people that there's something called the blue piece and it's working for solving that problem and that problem. Who do you think the audience is? I could take 2 answers. I'm fine with that.
I think officials, lawmakers,
policymakers, legislators.
I'm sorry,
okay.
but not the
general public.
Not the public, yani.
Definitely.
It's something that the officials need to believe in. They are the ones.
Exactly. That's where I want to get when I want to talk about then on the resources, because my resources is not about mass consumption. It's not about the mass audience. It's about who will serve best my objective. And my objective in the blue piece is to bring together these states, make them do an agreement with one another, and that agreement be put into the law of each country in order to solve the problem. So basically, it's not me telling, hey, I'm blue piece, look what I'm doing, because no one would care. Even if they want to care, they would ask, okay, what's in it for me? So it's not about the mass audience. It's about the legislators, the people who are making the policies in each state, who usually make or break an agreement with another state. So who is my audience? Okay. Step 1, developing a clear understanding of who your target audience is, just as Hannah just now told us, which will determine your successful rate, if you will, from the beginning of your social media campaign. Find your niche. If you sell to everyone, you are selling to no one. That's a perfect quote that you get, especially when you are working in a business, in a private business. It means you can't sell your product to everyone. We cannot be trying to involve everyone on board the Blue Piece Media Network or the Blue Piece in general. We have to find our niche, and our niche are legislatives, policymakers, people at the top of that pyramid, decision-making pyramid. When you narrow it down, when you have your ideal customer, we start talking about what kind of important platforms can benefit this audience, and then can benefit our objective as a blue piece network or as a blue piece in general. هلا انا عم بقول لكم مجرد ما نحن حددنا مين التارجت اودينس تاعنا، بصير يفكر الواحد شو هي اهم بلاتفورم انا ممكن استخدمها لحتى اقدر اثر على هدول الناس. Because Facebook, Not really. I'm in my mind, there are a couple of platforms that would be perfect for it, but I'm going to keep it for you to see.
معلش احكي شغله مروه.
ايه حبيبي تفضل.
يعني هسه مثل تويتر معروف انه هو للسياسيين ولا ايش بنسميهم احنا مثلا؟
يعني لا decision makers اذا بدك.
بالضبط معروف انه اذا بدك توجه رسالتك للسياسيين روح على تويتر.
فيك تروحي على تويتر، بس بالنسبه للكونفرنسات اللي بدك تعمليها مع هاو الناس لازم تكون محضره شيء كونتنت موجود على بلاتفورم ثاني، لانه تويتر بيزيكلي معمول for breaking news, for fast news, for live reporting. هيدي مهمه تويتر الاساسيه. لازم يكون في لنا تواجد على تويتر، ولكن لازم يكون في عندنا تواجد على مكانين اخرين على السوشيال ميديا، بالاضافه للاكشوال ويب سايت of the Blue Peas which we need to work a lot on, but that's not the case now. Twitter is a great example to start with. But the best way to figure out our target audience is to look at the current customers. مثل ما قلنا خلينا نشوف نحن NGOs تانيين اللي بيشتغلوا على ذات الليفل the other NGOs or other organizations that work like the Blue Peas. How do they target their audience? How do they talk to them? What kind of a content do they bring them? And on what kind of platform do they bring it on? طيب نحن عرفنا من التارجت audience تاعنا، خلينا consider these following very important factors. طب أنا بما أنا مش عم بحكي عن mass public، ليش بدي أعمل consideration للage والgender والlocation؟ No, it's very important because in the Middle East, you know, it's very different from other cultures around the world. That's number one, how you present your idea. These big shots, these big names, their age is important for them to be able to understand, especially إذا أنا بدي أحط content، إذا بدي أحط فيديو سريع بدي يكون دقيقة ونص ماكسيموم دقيقتين عم بحط فيه كم هائل من الانفوجرافز، وما يكونش شيء كثير صعب على وزير عمره 60 وما فوق إنه يستوعب. فأنا بدي أعرف شو بدي أعمل. If that minister, if that member of parliament is 60 plus years old, I doubt that a very fast infographic video will be helpful. So I must find another way. Gender, it doesn't change that much because we're talking about people at the top level, but consumption habits is very important in that matter, because we are talking about different states in West Asia, where some states are super rich, some states are like Lebanon, super bankrupt. So consumption habits is important. Why? Because this puts my issue as a priority or not. For example, I want to go to a certain policymaker in Lebanon to try and tell him about the Blue Peas, because I'm thinking about maybe doing a small presentation, maybe trying to build some sort of a tie between Lebanon and, let's say, maybe Syria, because they have a problem with one of the rivers. Let's say I want to do that. إذا أنا بدي أجي أحكي معه والconsumption habit تاعته according to the financial crisis in Lebanon is way off the list، بيجي أنا بلاقي حالي إنه أنا مش ضمن البرايورتي، أساساً مش واصلة للليست of priorities تاعته بهذا الوقت، because he's dealing with a lot of catastrophic issues that are happening. So I must find a way to link it with one of the catastrophes that he's dealing with in order to save a spot for myself in the priority list for this decision-making person. But part of these factors are important to look at when we want to deliver our content. Moving on
معلش مروه سؤال، اللغه وين بتروح بهون بهذا الوقت؟ يعني اللغه، اختيار اللغه.
ما هون اختيار اللغه it depends. Choosing the language of how you're going to talk with these people depends on their level of education. You are the best as reporters to know who knows best. مثلا أنا let's say بدي أعمل video. Let's say I'm a Blue Peas and I want to do a video. Most probably I'm going to do this video in English. That's not going to work 70 to 80% of the times in the Arab world. It might work in countries like, and I'm sorry, it's a bit يعني يمكن شوي هذا stigma أو شوي cliché, but it might work, for example, in Qatar and Dubai. It might work, but it's not going to work in Iraq. It's not going to work in Turkey. It's not going to work in Turkey because it's absolutely a different language, and their main language they might be able to understand, but if they want to give it to the people in power, they're going to have to translate that. بلبنان، بالأردن، بالعراق، دول أو بإيران، إذا بدأت في عنا حاجز كثير, a big blockade here, a big block, which is the language barrier. So I might think about a certain creation that does not involve language or if it's going to involve language, at least it will have 2 different subtitles. يعني ممكن أنا أعمل الفيديو بالإنجليزي لحتى تضلني أنا نوعا ما international، أنا ضامن إنه 70 ل 75% من الناس اللي رح يحضروا حيفهموه. حطوا له sound subtitles بالعربي، ممكن subtitles بالتركي، ممكن subtitles بالفارسي، ولكن ممكن كمان نروح على إني خصص أنا فيديو من هذا النوع، هو ذات الفيديو برجع بعمل أنا voice overs عليه. And it's simple to do voiceovers with different languages to directly approach and نكسر هذا حاجز اللغة، أو نستعمل subtitles. Subtitles, I think that would work positively in an area like the Middle East. But that could be just one of the ideas. But two, طب خلينا نشوف نحن competitors تاعولنا شو عم يعملوا. If I want to go towards the competitors or the people who work just like the Blue Piece works or presents certain goals to achieve, let me see how they are reacting. مثلا ريم قالت على تويتر، خلينا مثلا اذا بنروح بنشوف احنا climate change advocacy كيف تشتغل على تويتر. اذا بتروحوا هلا على حيالله if you go now to whatever account that you want that is actually dealing with climate change but at the level of legislation، مش climate change for public awareness، a big difference لأن احنا حددنا الأودينس تاعنا مين. بنروح بنلاقي يمكن آخر بوست عاملينه ممكن أو ببداية السنة أو بآخر مرة صار عندهم conference. Why? Because Twitter is used basically for live reporting. يعني if a conference is taking place, is happening right now, or for breaking news. Breaking news is صار في إمضاء لأي agreement. It's important to be found on Twitter because I could put a photo, I could put a link, people can access it. I can use hashtags, especially if it's going to be a trending issue. Then I could use Twitter. بس فيني أنا مثلا أشوف غير اللي بيشتغلوا بهذا العالم كتير بيركزوا على اليوتيوب وكتير بيركزوا على الكونتنت تاع الويب سايت تاعهم، لانه لما بدك تقدم شيء انت لشخص بده ياخذ قرار، بده بريف، بده شيء سريع، بده شيء كومباكت موجوده فيه كل المعلومات، وبده بذات الوقت شيء يقدر يعرضه على الناس اللي هن اعلى منه، مش يضل ساعه ونص عم يشرح لهم. which means our job is to simplify for them to utilize for their bigger people. This would be perfect in using YouTube. It would be perfect in using LinkedIn and focusing on our blogs, blog تاع Blue Piece, because it's easier to go and see فرجيه دغري with a click of a button. ليك بالأردن شو كاتبين عن الموضوع، ليك بالعراق شو كاتبين عن الموضوع. ليه؟ لأنه في Blue Piece في نوتك already فعال. أنا I feed this website. That is my website. I feed everything that we're doing, whether it's articles, videos, or simple infographics. موجودين كومباكت بمحل واحد، لينك فيني أنا أعرضه على حيالله سوشيال ميديا، ولكن الأبرز والأسرع يوتيوب، LinkedIn, and the website. Now we're going to see. هعطيكم example. مثلا خلينا نشوف هذا الexample سوا لنشوف كيف نحن ممكن نستفيد. Let's say you are a video production agency. أنتم ما لكم علاقة بشيء له علاقة بالlegislation. أنتم video production agency عم تعملوا فيديوهات، بدكم الناس تشوف فيديوهاتكم لأنه بتشتغلوا أنتم production على سبيل promotions, video clips, whatever it is. You post مثلا tutorials on YouTube one time per week. تيجي أنت بتعمل فيديو tutorial، مثلا tutorial كيف نحن بنستخدم هيدي الكاميرا الجديدة يلي من كانون يلي اللينس فيها مثلا وايد انجل. توتوريال مدته دقيقتين 3. عم بعمل انا واحد بالاسبوع. Naturally all other competitors are also active on YouTube. بطبيعه الحال كل الناس اللي هن عندهم production agency كمان موجودين على اليوتيوب. بتلاقي انه انت تيك توك عمال بياخذ ترند. ساعتها بياخذ انا قرار، طيب شو ليش انا ما بروح، ليش انا ما بنط على تيك توك؟ بحاله البلو بيس I shouldn't go to TikTok. And I'll tell you why in a second. Maybe you should tell me why in a second. But I wouldn't go to TikTok. بس بلاقي بهيدي الحالة واجب علي. ليه? Because their audience is completely different, which makes the audience of Blue Piece the main, if you will, anchor or the main compass that would lead me to the perfect social media website that I should be using in order to utilize the information that I have and make the decision-making process of these legislators much more easier. or much easier. طيب كيف أنا بقدر الأناليسيس للناس اللي عم يشتغلوا مثل الشغل اللي أنا عم بعمله؟ بقدر تشوف البلاتفورم تاعهم، راقبوا. maybe بقدر أروح أنا على اليوتيوب page تاعتهم ونشوف كل قديش هن بينزلوا فيديو. How many times per month do they do content creating for a video? How long is that video?
when they posted, how are people engaging؟ في engagement ولا لا؟ لأنه أنا as a blue piece أنا ما بهمني الناس تعمل engagement، أنا بهمني يكون موجود كنوع من الأرشيف لكل الشغل اللي صاير، لأنه أنت لما يكون في عندك أرشيف طويل history, a big history for the blue piece in your record, when you have it as an archive on YouTube, you will gain more credibility in the eyes of the decision makers. يعني هلا أنا بجي let's say أنا decision maker بلبنان وبدي حاول افهم. انا عندي ميتنج هلا مع حدا من البلو بيس، جايه مروه تعمل معي ميتنج بالبيس وبدها تخبرني عن الموضوع وتقول لي عن ستيتمنت اور درافت عم يشتغلوا عليها هول الجماعه لحتى يقدروا يسهلوا عمليه الميجرمنت بين لبنان وسوريا، ميجرمنت للمي من نهر تشترك فيه لبنان وسوريا. طيب بدي اعرف مين هن. اذا انا جيت فتشت تفتيش صغيره، اذا بس بيجي بروح على اليوتيوب انا هلا وبكتب بلو بيس، everything that we have done since 2009 up until now, it's not there. Either it's on the strategic foresight group page or it's not there. You might find a couple of TV interviews, but that's it. Nothing about the trips, nothing about the experiments, nothing about the experience, nothing about the conferences that happened, nothing about the high-level forums that took place all over the Middle East and in Europe or elsewhere. Nothing, and this is a deadly mistake. And then I would see, for example, if I want to have followers or not, I should see who my followers are. لأنه أنا التارجت تاعي خلي الفولوور تاعي يكون based على level of institutions، على ministerial institutions أو public institutions. يعني أنا بيهمني إنه الفولورز تاعولي يكونوا for example بلبنان مصلحة الليطانة. For example, وزارة agriculture, for example, at the level of ministers or at the level of the offices of ministers and members of parliament. هيدا هو أنا الهدف تاعي. بهمني at the piece if I have 200 or 300 followers, but these followers, I make sure that they follow me by going, meeting them, telling them, follow us. We have great content for you to make the good choice. 200 300 بس هول 200 و 300 يكونوا at the level of legislators and decision making people. بيت بالقلعة. I made it. It's an achievement. Step 3, showing the goals. What are the goals? What are we selling? What is our brand? I'll leave it for you. I'll listen to you. شو برأيكم نحنا? What are we selling as groupies? What do you want people to see and acquire from whatever product that you're giving or service that you're giving? نحنا شو عم نقدم? What do you think?
I think information.
And of course, information and what? What are we also, as groupies, what are we giving them?
I think the end result we are seeking is cooperation, better water sector in every country of the region. And that means for people, more water, clean water.
So you can say that we are maybe selling the experience of others that actually worked.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, I think what we are after is cooperation between countries.
How would you, if I want to, if my end goal is cooperation, how would you translate that? How would you translate that into content creating?
Yeah.
What is exactly is Anna, if my end goal basically at the blue piece is to bring people together, make sure they agree, make sure they cooperate, because what we are talking about is vital for every human life, especially in the upcoming 10 years. And we are at it. I think we are entering the age of wars for water in our region. This is you can read what's going on between Egypt and Sudan and Ethiopia. You can read what's going on between Iraq and Turkey, between Syria and Turkey, between Jordan and Syria and Turkey. So it's there. It's already there. The people might not be watching it. Oh, the people in power might not be very much interested in it. But bukra, it's going to pop in their faces. So what are we selling? We're selling some sort of a past experience that happened with people who had wars amongst themselves, but cooperated, and the cooperation was very successful, was very fruitful. Hence, what I'm selling them the idea of actually working hand in hand, especially in a region where most of us speak the same language, which means it's easy. So once I put my goal into perspective, يعني أنا my goal is أبقرا هدول الجولز الموجودين. Are you trying to increase brand awareness? Yes, my brand as Blue Peas is what I'm trying to increase awareness for the people, decision-making people. Am I trying to increase community engagement? I would say no. Am I trying to sell a product? Obviously not. Am I trying to build my audience and develop my brand? Yes, I am, because my audience is the legislators. So, and I'm trying to develop my brand because my brand should have enough credible image that would allow me to talk with these people with grace, with confidence, with sure intentions that these people are going to listen to me. Am I trying to drive traffic to my website? Yes and no. Yes, driving traffic may be enough to help these decision-making people understand how important my work is, but not mass traffic. I'm not trying to get the people who can't find water every day to follow me, because they will never benefit from what I have to present to them. For example, if you want to choose driving traffic, which is one of our goals at the Blue Peas, but majorly driving the traffic coming from public institutions, شو ممكن أنا أعمل؟ شو ممكن حط content عندي على الويب-سايت? What should I use on my website? I should be able to give ebooks, especially these books that contain the either the legislations or the strategies that was built by the Blue Peas in the past maybe 10, 11 years. I would maybe put out my webinar sign-ups. إذا أنا عندي webinar مثل هذا اللي نحن عم نعملها هلا أكيد مش مثل التوبيك اللي عم نغطيه، بس it would be out there for people who are interested, because I would also share it with people of important decision-making policies to come abroad and maybe watch us, or newsletters concerning, for example, let's say our last conference that happened, or our last meeting that happened in Dubai. I would have it up in a newsletter, because up until now, I think it's only found on Instagram, on the or in our pieces that we wrote and published, or videos that we produced. But there's no physical. I mean, if I go to a Blue Peas website, Quora, would I find a newsletter or a certain article about what happened in Dubai?
I think you'd have to ask. I'm not very familiar with the Blue Peas.
Yeah, exactly. I know the answer. It's no. The answer is, which is what we're trying to build.
But Francesca,
no, it's yes.
Yes,
it's
where?
Yes. Sorry,
Okay.
yes, on the website. So I made one newsletter 2 years ago for Blue Peas. Then they stopped my contract, so it stopped. Since then, we have this discussion about, do people actually read newsletters? So that's since January. I did write a bunch of articles about the Dubai meeting, and if Suen uploaded them, then they're there. So that's my answer. I mean,
we can check. We should check right now. And
no, that's not my point. My point
no, that's
is,
not the point. You're absolutely 100% right. Like you're 150% right.
Yeah,
the website anyway is an absolute embarrassment. But we're working on it.
Which is why we're doing this right now, in order to enhance it, develop it, and make it better. Because newsletters, when they get it, look, when you work at an official situation, as an official institution, for example, if you work in the ministry, let's say in the office of the Prime Minister in Lebanon, they receive hundreds, if not thousands, of emails per week. Okay, what would make them open your newsletter? No one is going to see the word Blue Peas and open it unless they have very good relations with the people at Blue Peas. What would make me open an email, for example, I'll be very frank, and you know that I'm usually very blunt and frank. مثلا يوصلني أنا أوقات إيميلات. I get emails from LIWAP, I think, in Lebanon. Something similar to CWAS, but it's LIWAP, I think, in Lebanon. I stopped opening the emails because I don't have direct contact with the people. I tried, I failed. Most of the time when I do send an email, I don't get a reply. So I was like, okay, why should I still be interested? So for my newsletters to be accepted by the secretary يلي قاعده ورا المكتب اللي عم بتشوف هدول الايميلات يلي ما بيشوفهم المينستر اذا ما هي نزلت له اياهم. If I don't have direct relationship with these key people who are people of administrative value in institution and ministries, I'm never gonna get to that person. Never gonna get. هي ذاتها المخلوقه اللي بدي اقولها لحتى تاخذوا موعد معه، هي ذاتها لازم تكون علاقتكم فيها 100% good in order to know that your newsletter will actually get to the person. So that's also connecting people to people, not only on social media. Moving on, why is this important? As I say, having 10,000 followers on your account is not going to bring value in order to reach our goal. ما بدنا 10,000 فولور، بدنا حول 200. حول 200 موزعين بالعالم العربي بالمؤسسات الرسمية يلي بنعرف إنه ما رح يتغيروا. Very important that not only ministers be on board that follower or basis of contacts اللي نحن بدنا نكون followers لنا للcontact اللي بنعملهم. People whose positions are not going to change، لأنه كلياتنا بالعالم العربي ببلداننا بس يا بيحلوا برلمان يا بيروح البرلمان يا بتتغير الانتخابات بيتغير الشخص بدنا نرجع. When people change because of elections, we have to repeat everything that we have ever done before. That's a grave mistake because we should be targeting not only the people on the top, but the people in the permanent institutions or in positions that would last 10 years or more, like local authorities, like organizations that do the measurement, like also people of power. Lebanon, 18 طائفة. We are 18 sects in Lebanon. If we do not have direct link with these political blocs, it means nothing in Lebanon. Absolutely nothing. And I think when we have been with the Blue Peace, you can remember when Sandeep had direct connections with each one of the leaders of our countries. You can imagine how easier it was for him to navigate and to talk more about the Blue Peace. So it's these people, not only legislators, but also the people at the level of local authorities who should also be the followers of our content. Now, I'm going to be finalizing with the last 2 steps. Just this. What sources do we have available? This is a question that I cannot answer. It has to be answered by you people, by CUS, by MICT. What is your sources? Because if we're talking about, for example, I'm sorry, there are chats that I didn't see, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, okay. So if we're talking about content creating for YouTube, for website, and for LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is more talking with the authorities, more of a platform that is very formal and that you cannot find at the level of I'm sorry to say irrelevant people, because if you're on LinkedIn, it means you have a big CV that you want to flaunt, you want other people to know about, you want other people to know your experiences and what you've done and where you succeeded. So basically LinkedIn is, let's say, the Instagram of the educated. You don't post a lot of photos as much as you post a lot of what you have achieved. So being on LinkedIn is not only to inform these people, but basically to allow them to tag us on their LinkedIn. Why am I saying it? Because when someone else gets the position of the person that has tagged you, it's a credible point for us. نسينا نقول لهم نحن already عندنا علاقة مع المينستر فلان قبل، فيكم تشوفوا العلاقة كانت موجودة بيناتنا because official people are found there. On Twitter, it's important to be there, as I told you, for live reporting, but on LinkedIn and YouTube, it's very important to showcase what the Blue Peace has to offer. And Damon always emphasize on the importance of the website. The website is much more important than anything else because it is the way that they can find us easier when they Google us. The first thing that they're going to do, they're going to grab their phones, go to Google and write Blue Peace. I'm sure they're going to get a lot of content, but they will not find our website in the first couple, 3 or 4 lines. And this is how search engines work. If you're not found at the top, you're not found. So what are the resources? Do you have editors? Do you have video editors? Are you going to outsource? Which I would recommend. I would recommend the Blue Piece outsources their social media platforms and their website. Why? One, each one of you has his own career, his own responsibilities. Two, you need professional people who can know how to make sure Blue Piece becomes #1 hit on Google once you write Blue Piece. So they know about SOE, about search SEO, about search engine optimization. We don't know about it, not myself, but I mean, we don't know how this operates because it's not our job. So we need someone who is specifically specialized in this matter. And on social media, because at the end of the day, you need reports to report to your bosses about how your social media engagement is working, whether it is being successful according to the objectives that you put forth or not. So you need people also to do the analytics for you. To هدول الاناليسيس بنعملوا, these analytics are done based on certain softwares, and they need specialized people to do them. I mean, you can go on Twitter and just click on Twitter activity and see certain statistics, but this is not what you need. You need certain statistics that only a skilled person is capable of doing and has the time actually to do. So the resources is something that I put forth in the hands of the Blue Piece, if I may. Second, moving on now to the content. So I need to think about these factors before I answer the question, what are my resources? Who is actually going to create my content? مين اللي بيعمل create content? أنا مروة. I have 3 kids. I'm assistant professor at 2 different universities. I have a TV show. I also do my own cooking and cleaning. So basically, if you're going to ask me to give you content, it's going to be very hard for me to do your content. Someone who should be specialized in this. Of course, I can help with certain information, certain articles, but for example, I can't do it, which means outsourcing would be the best choice. But this is just me saying you obviously have the choice in this. How many platforms can you realistically run? If you're doing this with the team that you have and not outsourcing it, how realistically can this be done? I'll give you an example. I had a trip over the past 18 days, and during the course of that trip, I was not responsible, but I made sure that I would tell people what was going on. What am I doing? Is I'm not there on a vacation, because most people will say, enjoy your vacation. I'm not on a vacation. I was working. So how would I let people know what I'm doing? For me, just by juggling Facebook, and not all the time, because I was basically on Twitter and on Telegram. Just by juggling these 2, it took more than 4 hours a day from me. That's how much time it takes, and I'm just doing 3 to 4 meetings per day and reporting about those meetings. So it takes a lot of time. So realistically, how many platforms can you run? You need to answer that question. How much time will it take for your business to learn about this new channel? Business meaning, I'm talking about the people relevant to your content. How much time do you think that it will take them to know that you're actually there? Which means you're going to have to meet with them, not only call them, show them, showcase your content for them, because they are a niche market. It's not a global mass market. And very important, consistency gives you results. You can't just post 1 video and then 2 months later, nothing. It has to be consistent. Step 5, and the last one, experiment and measure the results. See how you're working on that platform. Look at the numbers. Study the cost of time. How much time are you taking to create that content? And then how much time are you taking to plan for next month or next event? How much time is it taking for you to post and to monitor the post? The cost of the resources. How much are you paying for the content editors, video editors, for the softwares that you're buying if you're not outsourcing? How much is that costing you? And performance. Are people that you want to see your content seeing your content? So that happens with time. It needs a time that is no less than 6 months in order to have real numbers with the feedback of whether you made it or not. So, end of the story. Which one of these social media platforms should I use? You don't need to jump onto the latest trend like TikTok or Clubhouse. نحن لا مجبورين نكون على TikTok ولا Clubhouse. أصلاً ما حنستفيد شيء. ما حدا حيسمعنا. You don't need to be on every single social media network. Just focus your work. You need to be on 1, 2, maximum 3. Every business is different, so you need to create a strategy and pick what is right for you. And my friends, that's the last slide. Good luck remembering what this presentation was about. Thank you. If you have questions before I show you any of the videos, I'm ready to hear your questions.
Marwa, you're amazing.
Yeah.
You have a new job. You're going to like run all of everything for Blue Peace. That's it. We're firing everyone else, and that's it.
Oh no.
Anyway,
No,
I've already said.
I just know how to talk. That's it.
No, but basically, you know, I think this whole all you journalists are much better than the whole Blue Peace put together. So if you guys were in charge, we'd have peace in the Middle East. Anyway, okay, that's all I have to say.
Yeah,
or at least cooperation on water.
We need to focus on those resources and manage them more effectively.
Any questions before we, Nadine?
No, I just wanted to say thank you so much for the presentation. It was lovely. Thank you. Very insightful.
My pleasure, as always. If you don't have any questions, I have a couple of videos to show you that are a bit important to know about whether how social media platforms are trending these days. And the last video, which is why I hate social media. That's just for your amusement. It's not something related. But let me start by sharing again. Oh, that's not the file that I should be in. This is the file. Can you hear the video?
No, not at the moment.
No.
We can't see the screen. We can't see a video. We can only see a folder.
You can't hear it, right? You can see it, but you cannot hear it.
No,
right?
no, we can't see it
Or
either.
hear it, both.
Let me just try something. Yeah, let me try something. Okay, I'm sharing sound now. You should be able to hear. Can you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Social media marketing is one of the most affordable forms of advertising, and using it to your advantage will give you an edge over your competition. Today, we are going to discuss which social media platforms you should use for promoting your business and why. Facebook. Facebook is the most widely used social platform nowadays, with over 2 billion active users across demographics. Whether your business goal is brand awareness, website traffic, lead generation, or online conversions, Facebook can make a significant difference. It is important to note that Facebook ads are a paid service, so it requires an advertising budget. Also, it needs consistent engagement in order to be effective. However, with targeted ads and increased ROI, it's a worthwhile investment. Instagram. Although Instagram started out as a site for sharing photos and videos, it has since expanded to multiple content formats including Reels, Stories, IGTV, and more. Thus, Instagram is now a great way for brands to show off their products. Hashtags allow for easy targeted advertising, and engaging with a younger audience is much easier. Twitter. Twitter is the go-to platform if you want to reach out to followers with instantaneous content in the form of breaking news, announcements, and other important messages. Easily digestible text-based content works best on Twitter, and images do better than videos. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an optimal choice, especially if your goal is lead generation. Since most LinkedIn users are industry professionals, editorial content that showcases your brand in an authoritative light is the best way to go. Another plus point is that networking becomes so much easier on LinkedIn. YouTube. With over 2 billion monthly users, YouTube has become the place where people go for entertainment and also to learn new things. And this makes it a powerful business marketing tool, whether as a primary one or to complement campaigns on other social media sites. So, what have we learned about which is the best social media platform for business? Make sure to weigh all your options before making your decision.
That's the first video to show you the top 5 social media platforms in this day and age. And I would recommend, as I told you, LinkedIn and YouTube. Now, since we are an advocacy network or organization, what are the steps that we can use? And here,
while grassroots campaigns need to be strategic, they definitely don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's a proven path for success already being used to transform public will into political power across the nation, and it's explained in the book, The DeMarco Factor. It's a multi-year process, but we can summarize the main points in under 2 minutes. Step 1. Create an evidence-based policy plan. This is where you work with local experts and grassroots organizations to develop a watertight, proven policy solution. Don't skip this step. This research sets you up for success throughout your campaign. Next, test the plan with a high-quality poll. If you're going to get groups and politicians to sign on to something, you'd better make sure it moves voters first. And don't skimp on polling. Reliable results from a respected firm get you the credibility you need. Now you're ready to build a coalition. Create a resolution for groups to endorse and work hard to get lots of important organizations signed on. Got your coalition? It's time to bring on the media. The more media, the better, because media coverage builds public support for your cause and motivates your supporters. The 5th step is to make your policy into an election issue. This is when you leverage your coalition's strength to make candidates for office endorse your resolution. Then, let the voters know which candidates have endorsed it and which have not. And lastly, go win in the legislature. Because your powerful coalition got the candidates for office to endorse your cause, you begin the next legislative session with the support of a strong number of legislators committed to get the job done. You've built a powerful grassroots movement and are in a prime position for your policy solution to pass. Ready to learn more? Visit healthcareforall.com.
This video that we just saw now is an example of what we should be doing. Before we start talking to these legislators, we need to talk with the local authority. And I've so many times stressed on this, because if you don't do this, we're not going to get the real data that we were just talking about before I started this lecture. The third one that I want to show you is about outsourcing and how important outsourcing is for organizations like Blue Peace, especially in social media platforms.
Social media is an amazing channel to deliver your brand message to your prospects and customers. From creating meaningful engagements to driving website traffic to retaining top-of-mind recall, marketers have it all laid out, right? Not really. You see, most marketers are finding it difficult to achieve the desired reach and engagement on social media. Producing relevant content and the limited reach through business-owned social channels are the biggest challenges that marketers are facing today. So how can you reach and engage your prospects and customers in a meaningful way? Well, that's where SOXO can help. We help you connect the right people with relevant content on the right channels. From employees to partners to customers, you can now empower the people who resonate with your brand message to be your amplifiers on social media. Deliver customized and relevant content to your amplifiers and reach the prospects you otherwise could have missed. More amplifiers means greater reach for your business on social media. The right channels, relevant content, and an engaged audience together results in an improved brand awareness, higher traffic, and more business. And all of this without you creating any additional content or blasting a hole in your marketing budget. SOXO.
An example of one of the companies that give out or present outsourcing material for social media advocacy amplification, or maybe using the social media in order to amplify the advocacy that this organization is trying to portray. So this is why I always say there's this saying in Lebanon or in Lebanese that says, give your, like, allow or buy bread from the bakery, even if the baker is going to eat half of that bread, because at least he knows how to make it, which means you're not going to get like maybe poisoned or something. So basically just give it to the people who know how to do it, because that will give you the efficient result and optimize your result. Now, concerning the, I don't want to take a lot of your time. We've been on 2 hours now. I'm not going to show you the last video. I could just share the video on WhatsApp for people to watch on their own. But TikTok, why not use it, or why not emphasize a lot on social media? Because basically it breaks your privacy. It emphasizes lust for consumerism, and it basically creates some sort of a blind veil in front of people's eyes as to what is really important in life. And basically, this is why I'm trying to cut my social media engagement, despite the fact that I have a thriving YouTube channel, I have a great Twitter account, Facebook, I keep getting banned on Facebook, but I do have a great reach on Facebook. But at the same time, it's very much time consuming, and it gives you some sort of an image of yourself that is not real. And if you get absorbed by this image, then by reality. And this is what I want to stay away from, especially that I work in this field, that I teach this field, that I actually do work in media. It is basically some sort of a syndrome. It's a disease. And if you get really too much involved in it, you're going to definitely break your life. You're going to break your connections. You're going to miss what's really important in life. But at the same time, just a little of everything is good and important. So that's where I put it. I want to thank you for being a great audience. If you have any questions, I'm ready to hear. If not, merci beaucoup.
Wow, amazing, Marwa. So insightful. And Francesca, your hands up. Do you want to say that you love TikTok, and that you have an account?
No, I don't love any of it. So I've been managing the Blue Peace Middle East Twitter and LinkedIn for the past few months. Not very well, but at least the following is up by like 200 on each, so that's like a beginning, and at least there's something going up on there. So that's but as you say, it's hugely time consuming. I right now don't have time because I'm writing all kinds of strategy documents, so then like nothing happens. So I absolutely, everything you said I completely take on board. As you know, we're in a phase of preparing the next phase of Blue Peace, which is starting next January. I wanted to ask you, so we're trying to plan this in a way that by January we have an infrastructure set up that works and that is efficient and that will bring Blue Peace back into the visibility, because we've, it's since 2019, it's kind of, Blue Peace has kind of fallen away. Part of that is building a new website, doing all the things you said already. We had it in mind. There is nowhere with where is the history of the Blue Peace? Where is the archive of all the things that have already been done? All that needs to be established. So we're working with the new coordination office, which is going to be in Jordan, in Wardam, and they're setting up a team especially for Blue Peace. I was trying to convince them, or I think I almost have convinced them, that they need a social media officer in their team. Would you not recommend that, therefore? Would you say it should be outsourced to a company, or could there be, if there was a media team within the coordination office, would that work, you think, Marwa?
I think that the media team can be the data center for the outsourcing company. And why am I saying this? Because if you're going to start from scratch, getting editors and video editors and buying whatever they need, because it costs a lot, then you're just going to be paying a lot of money for an investment that you're not going to see the return on for the upcoming 6 months to a year. In contrary, if you actually work with a company that is specialized in this field, then you're going to see a difference in less than 2 months, or let me be a bit pessimistic, in less than 6 months. You will be able to see a difference because they are already up and running. That you're just paying for their services, and you might definitely need a team no more than 2 to coordinate with this outsourcing company, to feed them with the data necessary, to help them out with whatever they need as in raw material in order to build the content creation. And I think that would be it. But if you want to do everything at home, I mean,
no, I wasn't meaning. So yeah, I guess it's not. I think video and stuff we would want to outsource. It's not very clearly defined yet. But I did think they needed someone in-house to be on communication. Like the people in the coordination office right now are all totally not communication people. Like they have no media experience at all. So I felt like they do need someone who has
someone which we usually call the social media manager, or basically who not only manages the social media but connects the different departments in order to optimize the content that will be released to the public or to the targeted audience.
Okay. Could I ask you, so I'm interviewing someone for that position this week. If that kind of starts working out and materializes, could I ask you to, in the coming, let's say, month at some point, do a meeting with me and him to kind of vet him? Because I feel like you're going to be better at judging whether he has what it takes. He's now already working
at your service. No worries.
Anyway, I'll be in touch with you. Anyway, thank you so much. You're like incredible. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Very, very valuable. And everything you've said is being taken on board, and we really hope that the next phase will be more productive for the Blue Peace. And that I don't know if you were online yet, Marwa, but I was saying that I don't know if you know, there's a new head of the managing committee has been elected for the next phase. So from January, Maysoon Zobi is going to be the head of the managing committee.
That's great news. Amazing.
So you see there already that I think we're heading hopefully to a new phase where there's going to be more engagement and more proactive.
I'm gonna have to stop.
Yes, sorry. Yeah,
soon,
sorry.
Just because the Zoom will finish.
Sorry.
No problem at all. I mean, there's so much we need to talk about, but luckily we have one final COP meeting, which I will be in touch with you about. Just make sure that you can all attend just one last time to kind of wrap everything up. And tie loose ends. I'm just going to quickly share again the mural link. There you can find all the recorded sessions, past COP sessions. I'm going to also upload this one for anyone that wants to kind of revisit some of the things we talked about. I've been, throughout the session, I've been writing comments about ideas, observations, questions. If there's anything that you want to add to it, please do so, or any resources that would be useful for everyone. Use that mural page, and also try and you can also use WhatsApp as well. Remember, we've got the WhatsApp group that is sometimes a bit dormant, but let's hopefully we can start making it alive again. And just, I know you had that video. I really want to watch it, but I'm going to have to close the session now. Could you send it on the chat, or you could send it on WhatsApp? Amazing. And we can all tell you.
Can I give access to the mural to 2 people from the new coordination office? Not this new potential candidate, but 2 people I'm working with because I think they're helping me writing the big project proposal, and I think they would really benefit from just being able to watch this session.
Yeah, absolutely. It will take me a few days to convert it and upload it.
No, not urgently, but more like, can I give them access even though they're not in our group?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Cora, and thank you, Marwa, and thank you, everyone.
And yes, thank you, Marwa, for this amazing presentation. And thanks everyone else for also all your contribution with discussion in the previous topic. And thanks for showing up. It's so amazing to see this commitment. And yeah, see you next time for a short, it won't be as long as this one, it'll just be a short final meeting.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Shukran.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.